All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about what Errol Spence Jr.'s trainer, Derrick James, had to say about Terence Crawford and his vaunted skill set, and pretty much calls it BS. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we are going to talk about some very, serious comments from Derrick James, the trainer of Errol Spence Jr., when he was asked about Terence Crawford and the actual fight between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. And man, to tell you that he sounded unimpressed was, it's a little bit of an understatement, man. But before I get into the specifics of it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for watching the video. Please accept my invitation to subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos, which we do on a daily basis and have live streams on a daily basis. So there's always a really good opportunity to talk boxing on the channel. So let's get into this. We have a fight hopefully coming up between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford. Most highly anticipated fight in boxing. Two of perennial top 5 pound for pound fighters could be fighting one another, provided they work out all of the different, hiccups that these guys have with each other, as far as the location of the fight, the money on the fight, right? All of those type of things. But in a recent interview, the trainer for Errol Spence Jr., Derrick James, shared insight on the actual little bit of their actual game plan for Terence Crawford and what they think of Terence Crawford as a fighter, right? And I found it, the expanded explanation very interesting. Also, he talked specifically about one of the things that people think is a very big an advantage for Terence Crawford, and Derrick James seemed extremely unimpressed with it. And that was the concept that Terence Crawford switches stances. And if you don't know what that means, let me explain very briefly, because I'm surprised how many people don't understand certain things like that. But let's just go into it. It is when you come out, in fighting as an orthodox fighter, which is where your left hand is out in front and your right hand is in the back. So that, because if you're right-handed, your stronger hand is typically your right hand. So your straight right would be a more powerful punch than your straight left. So you keep your left out in front and use that as a jab, and then your power hand is the right hand behind it. Well, that most fighters fight in an orthodox stance, and they're not used to dealing with people that stand in a southpaw stance, which is when you have your right hand in front and your left hand in the back, right? Because if you are a left-handed person, your left hand is stronger. So you keep your right hand out in front and you keep your power hand in the back, so that when you turn it, you can get more weight into your power hand. And that's how people are typically set up. But certain fighters like Terence Crawford, Josh Taylor, Jaron Ennis will go between stances. They will fight southpaw, they will fight orthodox. And when you do that, it changes the angle. So many people when they talk about Terence Crawford, say, man, this guy is an exceptional fighter and very hard to beat because he can switch stances. Well, now Derrick James was asked about it, said, look, man, he said that is BS. He said most people, when they're switching because they're covering something up. And what are you going to do he said that type of stuff works for lower level, he said that does not work against elite level fighters, switching stance. What are you switching for, right? You're switching because what you're doing in one stance isn't working. So you switch to another stance. And he said, so what are you going to do with somebody that's just prepared for you when they switch? And when you switch, you can get caught in the switch. And so he said, look, man, that is more a product of hiding something in your strong stance and going to the weak stance. Now, I've said that a bunch of times about, well, not that specifically about Terence Crawford and when he goes to southpaw stance. Typically, Terence Crawford starts the fight off in an orthodox stance. He starts with his right hand, his left hand in front and his right hand behind, because he is a right-handed person, right? And that is his stronger stance. Now, when he starts off a fight in the orthodox stance, he will, once he has a little bit of difficulty or he needs time to figure the guy out, then he'll go to the southpaw stance and he will fight primarily in a defensive mode, right, on the back foot in a southpaw stance. And then after he connects with somebody or gets him in trouble, typically then he switches back to the orthodox stance to attack them. And so what Derrick James is saying is going right along with what my point of view was on why Terence Crawford switches, because Terence Crawford has defensive liabilities in the orthodox stance. And now that's not to say that he's some easy money fighter or that he can't fight in the orthodox stance. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that he does, just like Bob Arum said, not too long ago, that, he basically gets caught. Sometimes he leaves openings. And when he's aggressive, his hands are a little bit low. His chin is exposed, and he's known to get caught in the orthodox stance. Bob Arum said that as it relates to him fighting other southpaws and why they don't like to match him up with southpaws. Now, why wouldn't you want him why would the matchmakers from Top Rank not want to match him up with southpaws? Because when you're in a southpaw stance, the combined stance between the two people now are closed, not open. If somebody is a southpaw fighting an orthodox fighter, where you're either even further away from their power hand, even though the straight right is, because you don't have a jab out there in front of you, is the kryptonite of a southpaw, right? Still, that punch has to travel a longer distance to get to you when you're in the southpaw stance. When you close that stance up, then it's not as far away. It's not as far away. It comes right underneath your jab, or it comes your jab is in front of their backhand. And so you're turned more towards their backhand because your back foot is up forward. Your previous back foot is now up forward, up front. So that's why he said he's not very, very impressed with the fact that Terence Crawford switches stances. Then he also got into, now he didn't apply this directly to Terence Crawford, but he's clearly, you can see that this is what he's referring to. It's like, look, man, a lot of these guys nowadays are talking about, they rely on athleticism. They rely on their reaction time. They rely on speed. They rely on all that quickness. And because you're a terrific athlete. But Derrick James is like, look, man, there are a lot of guys that are terrific athletes, but still really rely on their skills. Now, when people are talking about skills, usually I think they're they include that switching stance as skills and different looks and different things that you can give. What I believe I hear from Derrick James when he's talking about skills is he's talking about the basic fundamental boxing skills that allow you to hit and not get hit. And not get hit does not necessarily mean that you're going to be jumping out of the way of punches and you're going to be on the back foot moving around and keeping yourself out of range and jumping in range really quickly and all that. More so the very basic things that people don't pay a lot of attention to, which is just blocking and parrying punches. Right? If this move right here will deflect a punch and still keep you right in position to throw another punch, versus where you are moving in and out and you have to jump all the way in and relying on your athleticism to get you from spot A to, from point A to point B very quickly because you see a hole opening up. That is more athleticism than it is skill. Skill and recognition is involved in it most definitely, but it's less so. But it's more so at skill combined with athleticism. And when people start to get older, or you're in there with somebody that's just as athletic, but a lot more compact, a lot more tight, you may get that taken advantage of. So I just thought that was really interesting and wanted to share that with what Derrick James said. Not saying that is, that is the truth. I mean, that is, the Bible truth. But, for people that like to learn about boxing, I think that is definitely something people should keep an eye on, heading into this fight. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.